Coach Lemon, how we doing, guys? Coach John Lemon. We're doing a live training today about the best indoor drills to have an amazing 2026. That's what we've been talking about all year is how can you maximize your 2026 golf game and play some of the best golf of your life. And I've got some great ideas on some drills to do inside to help you get better. And the fun thing about the indoor drills is you can do these anytime. Focusing on it right now, of course, because it is, I mean, there's a foot of snow outside, so it's winter. I can't really do a lot of putting, chipping, and playing on an actual golf course. And so indoor drills are a great way to practice your game and get better. And you can do this anytime. You can do this in the summer. You can do this in the spring, the winter, wherever, even if it's like raining outside. And that's the great thing about indoor drills. So first of all, I want to talk about why you should train inside. What is a good reason? Why should you do that? Indoor training isn't just a backup plan. It really helps give you a competitive edge. And like I was just saying, you can do it anytime. And that's the great part about it. And if we can start building the habits right now and start doing it today, these habits of doing indoor practice, it can be a short period of time. You can take a 10-minute session, something indoor while you're at home. You don't have to go to a golf course, and you can improve your game very quickly and easily. So that's what we're going to go over. Again, indoor training isn't just a backup plan. I think it's a competitive edge. It's something that if we can get the habits going now, we can continue this all year long and just really build on all the wins and all the practice that we're doing. The other thing that's great about doing indoor practice is you get to build skills without pressure. The fun thing is when you're doing some of the drills and things that we're going to talk about today, nobody else is watching. It's not like you're on the first tee and you don't have any pressure if you mess up or if you look stupid or if you do something that isn't totally cool. It doesn't matter because you're inside, you're by yourself, you're working on your game, you're doing your own thing. And it just kind of, it removes the expectations and kind of lets the ego relax a little bit, which doesn't always happen when you're actually practicing out in front of people or practicing or playing on an actual course. So the cool thing is also is you create consistency faster. Controlled environments reveal patterns instead of hiding them. So you're able to really, really go over things. I'm going to talk about some drills that I do in a mirror over here to get instant feedback. And so that just helps you create consistency in your game and do that faster. And that's the best part about this. Number two, you train habits and not just swings. We're going to be talking about routines. We're talking about focus. We're talking about decision making. And you can prove all those things at home with as little as 5 or 10 minutes. And that's the great thing about that. If one of the big things that I hear when people talk about whether they're trying to get lessons or trying to get better, I was like, oh, if I had more time, if I practiced more, I would be better at golf. I could be a scratch golfer if I had 40 hours a week to do this. Well, I think you can get to scratch or whatever your goal is or below, break 100, break 90, break 80. And I'm going to give you some tips and some tools to do that indoor when you have as little as 5 or 10 minutes. And these little times, these little 10-minute sessions, if they're focused and done the right way, can actually build better than a full hour-long session outside. So that's another reason. And then you start the season ahead of time instead of catching up. So I feel like over the winter, even if we're doing simulators and different things, practicing there, we're kind of behind. We feel like we're behind. And then when spring goes, like, oh, well, we're just finally getting started. Well, we can build our confidence now, and we can build that step by step with just 5 or 10 minutes, doing some drills and things at home before we go out and play. So that way we can have an amazing 2026 and do the best and have the best game, have the best, hit all your goals, hit all the things you'd like to do, have the results you really want in 2026. So let's start with some of the actual training tools that I use and that I suggest for my students to use. And let's just start with a grip trainer. So grip's very, very important. If you've ever had a lesson with me, we start with the grip. We talk about the grip. We talk about how that works, what's the best thing to do. And this grip trainer, I think, is really nice. It's molded to your hands. You've kind of been probably seeing, if you're watching any golf, you see that Scotty Scheffler has been using a grip trainer. He focuses on that a lot. Like he does it on almost all his practice sessions. So this is a great grip trainer. What's kind of cool about this too is you can actually do a swing with it, and you can actually see where the ball comes out, where the speed is in your swing. But anyways, a grip trainer is something that you can do. Again, this is something you can do in 5 minutes. I mean, you can just sit here. I mean, I can just take a couple swings with this, just work on my trip. I mean, honestly, just sitting here like this, I've got a mirror over here, just doing this right here, where I'm just training my grip, looking at my alignment, making sure my shoulders and everything look well, and just taking a practice swing right here is actually something really, really helpful that could really, really help your swing. And it's something that we can do in just a couple minutes a day. I mean, I've got one of these. I try to leave it just around my house so I can just grab it and make sure that I'm working on my grip and ingraining that into my mind. And it's just such a great and easy tool, something super cheap to do. And again, you can just easily do that in a short period of time. One of my other favorite things to use is a mirror. And anybody that's had a short game lesson with me, you will probably see me using a putting mirror. Putting mirrors, I think, are amazing. They work really, really well. I use this quite often for my own game. In fact, I track this. I track my practice. And one of the things I noticed last year is like, man, for a couple weeks, I was like, I'm just not putting very well. I wonder what that is. And then I realized that I hadn't been using the mirror and I hadn't been working on my putting drills for about 5 or 6 weeks. And I was like, well, of course I'm not playing as well as I should because I haven't been doing the work and I haven't been doing the training. So a putting mirror is one of my favorite tools. No matter who you are or how good you are at putting, using a putting mirror is going to be something that can be really, really helpful and really, really help your game. When I went to one of the Lemmon golf events a couple years ago, it's kind of fun because it's a shotgun start, so everybody's on the putting green at the same time. They're all doing the same thing. And I was just absolutely amazed to see how many putting mirrors, putting lines, putting little tools and tricks and all kinds of different things. I mean, somebody was sitting there with a weight board to make sure their weight was solid when they're putting. And it's just amazing the things that you can practice, it's just amazing what the pros were doing right before they went out. In my past, I thought, I wouldn't want to do a putting drill or use something like that before I went out and played because that's not, that would mess up my game. And, putting is kind of a free thing. And it's a lot of, it's a different skill. We don't really want to do something mechanical before we go out. But I was just absolutely amazed. Almost every single pro that was at that live event was actually using either a mirror or some kind of drill before they went out. And a couple years ago, I saw that and I realized the importance of that. And since then, I've been trying to incorporate that when I'm playing in a club championship or something of that caliber. And again, putting mirror is extremely, extremely important. I've got a couple of videos where I use one on my YouTube channel. If you guys can check that out, if you want to know the best way to use it. But yes, putting mirror, definitely important. Really, really like that. Awesome. Some other thing, I've got a Pro Sender. So Pro Sender is just this tool right here. There's a ball that comes with it. I've got the generic one that's not the actual blue one. I've got the yellow one that somebody got for me, but it's a great tool and it's something you can do inside. And all it does, it goes here and you're able to see what your wrist bend is. And if I grab a club here and kind of show you what it is. And so basically the idea behind this is that your wrist needs to be in this cradle when you swing. And so when you're taking a practice swing, you can just go like this and see that your wrist is cocked in the right position right there. And the idea here is just to be aware of where your wrists are in the backswing. And this is a great tool because if you've got your hands like this or in a different position where it's not back like that, you'll notice it immediately. And so this is just another good training aid that I use, that I've worked with my students on, and it's something I use myself. And so it's just something that's good to use. And again, it's something that you can just use. You could actually just put it on and use it around the house and just be like, okay, and just take some practice swings with it and just try to get your hand right into the cradle and just kind of get used to that movement and that motion. So it's just been a super helpful tool. Again, they've got the ball in there too, which is another way to use it as well, which is super fun. So I really like the Pro Sender. And then I thought this would be a fun one too, guys, like a plastic, or this is actually like a foam golf ball. A foam golf ball. What a great tool. What a great tool. What's a super easy way to use this? Now, are you going to be able to hit full swings and smash it around? No, because this thing, I've actually hit driver with this in my garage, and it'll bounce back at you pretty fast. So be careful, buyer beware when you're practicing. But this is a great tool. I use this sometimes when I'm working my chipping. I mean, I could do a chip shot right here in the house. I could just chip and just kind of like boom, and then work on my chipping movement with just this ball. And I don't have to go anywhere. I'm not going to hit an actual golf ball, so I'm not actually going to break anything. But using these foam balls is a really good tool. And it's just something you could just sit there and hit chip shots for just like a few minutes while you're watching TV or something. And this would be such great practice. Again, the same thing with the mirror. For the putting drill, I love to use the mirror. I'll do that like when I'm watching football or I'm watching some golf during commercials. I'll just sit down and hit a few putts. You put a little mat out or a rug or whatever you use. And it's just such a great thing to do over the winter or even during the summer and things when you can't get outside and just can get in 5 or 10 minutes of easy practice. Now, some of the other drills and things I do, I should say the other tools I use. So I use a mirror a lot. I've got a mirror in my office over here, and I do a lot of different drills with that. The mirror is instant feedback. A lot of times, I was just talking to a student this week. We were talking about how what our feel and what our real, what we feel and what is actually real are two different things. When we're trying to make a swing change or trying to adjust things in our swing. And any way that you can use video or a mirror to get instant feedback and see exactly what you're really doing, it is really, really important. And the way I use a mirror, a couple different ways. I just do a simple, like I set up like the mirrors over there, and I just do a simple turn drill. And so I'm just like turning and making sure that I'm getting my chest over top of my hip. And one of the things I do in my swing when I get out of whack is I go kind of this way. So this little turn drill is something I do where I'm just trying to move over top, trying to get my weight on top of my right side and move this way. And then I can just check myself in the mirror and be like, okay, cool. Let's see if we're doing that correctly. All right. Am I turning right? Am I going like this? Am I going too far this way? And it's just an easy drill I can use to see my hips are turning. And it's just something simple. Again, all it takes is a mirror. Another great drill to use and another tool that I like to use is a medicine ball. And this is kind of a light one. But what I'll do in the mirror is I'll just look in the mirror and I'll turn and act like I'm throwing it. And this motion right here is really good for your golf game, especially if you're worried about turning this way or swaying. Because if you grab a heavy medicine ball and you try to go like this and throw it, if you sway, you won't be able to throw it. You'll fall down. And so this is actually a really good way to train yourself. And you see pros, Scotty, all the guys on tour, Rory, everybody using something like this where they'll go like this and then they'll throw it against the wall. And you don't even have to throw it if you don't want to. But yeah, something like this where you're just able to turn. And like I can just see like the weight shift in my body when I'm doing this. And then just see on through to finish. And it's just such good training. I mean, even if you're not throwing the ball, and if you're able to just sit here and move like this, but a medicine ball is really, really, really good training tool. Another tool I've got, this is kind of a light one, but I've got a 15-pound kettlebell. Again, I can set up to the mirror, and you can do that same thing where you're just trying to turn and sway and move. And this just kind of helps you see how efficient your swing is and your body is and how your body would move a heavy weight. And so picking up a heavy weight and throwing it this way, which is kind of what we're doing in the motion of the golf swing. And you can see that if I go like this, it's inefficient. I can't do it. And if I sway too far, I'm going to fall over. So it's really good for stability. I also like to do kettlebell swings. And a kettlebell swing, there's some videos on there I'm showing online, something like this. And so I like to do kettlebell swings, really good for your lower body and a really good tool. But yeah, a kettlebell, excellent, excellent, excellent tool to use inside over the winter, over the summer, anytime you want. What is full tire there? To help you train better and get better. Excuse me. That was kind of a workout. So the next section, we went over a grip trainer, we went over a putting mirror, we went over the Pro Center, drills to do in a mirror using a medicine ball. You can also do some short swings. You can do takeaway only, and you can do shoulder turns, which I talked about as well. So I don't have a ton of room in my office, and I've got a mirror over here, like I said, and so I can just practice my setup in the mirror. So this is just a 7-iron, and I'm checking my grip, I'm checking my alignment, checking my shoulders, and I'm able to just see exactly what I'm doing in the mirror and how this is really helpful and good practice for my swing. And then also I can just practice a small takeaway. So with a 7-iron, I don't have a lot of room in here, but I can just move and just see that I'm not swaying, I'm not doing a tilt, I'm just turning, get those hips turning, and then just see that little bit of a first move and how it's not going that way, this way, and how just a drill like that can be really, really good for your swing. And just to get used to it. Now with a wedge, I can almost, actually if I stand a little farther, I can actually take most of a swing and I can see where I'm at the top, make sure I'm not going this way, make sure I'm not going that way, and kind of see what I'm able to do. But there's all kinds of different ways that you can use a mirror inside with clubs or without clubs. And I think it's an amazing thing to do. It's super helpful. And it's definitely helped my game quite a bit as well. Now, the next section, I want to talk about some mental training tools that you can use indoors. And excuse me, I'm actually getting a workout in today. And the mental training tools that you can do indoors, and this is where I believe golfers kind of leave some improvement on the table. We don't really work on our mental game. I'm a mental performance golf coach. I see this all the time when we're not really focusing on our mental game. We're just really caught up in what our swing's doing and not actually getting the most out of our game. And so one of the things I think you can work on is, and just like I was doing in the mirror there, we can work on our setup. We can work on our visualization where, okay, I'm setting up to the ball. I'm setting up to the ball. I'm checking this. And then I can pretend like I'm actually going to hit a shot. So I'll walk in, I'll visualize a target, I'll set up, I'll visualize that I take a practice swing, and then I will step up to the ball and practice my pre-shot routine where I take a final look at the target and then I go. And the other thing is that I can train when I'm breathing and how I'm breathing. I do a lot of breath training when I'm putting. I do that a ton. So when I'm using the mirror or if I'm just practicing putting on a green, I will use that. And so what I'll do is I'll visualize the putt going in the hole. I'll step up to it. I'll take my practice swing, and in my practice swing, when I breathe is I go out, this will be hard to do as I'm talking, but I breathe out, kind of do a quick back and forth, kind of Dustin Johnson-esque. But when I do that, I make sure that I'm breathing out. And I usually do that as I'm looking at the hole. So I'm breathing out, and then I'll step up to the ball, and I'll take one last look at the target, at the hole. And once I start to breathe out, I will look back down and pull the trigger. So I'm looking at the hole. Again, I'm focusing where my breathing is. And one quick tip is just when you're breathing, if you're breathing in or holding, it's a really tight motion. And you don't really want to have a tight motion when you're putting. It's just going to be tight and rigid and just not flow and ease, which are the things we want to do in putting. So for me, I've been working on my breathing. So I know that if I putt, when I'm holding my breath, or if I'm breathing in, I'm more tight, and I just don't have the best results from that. And so I practice this where I'll do my, I'll look at the hole and I'll do my practice swing next to the ball. So, and I'm always blowing out. So I'm like, and then when I step up, I will take one last look at the hole. And then as soon as I have, wherever I am in my breathing, I want to make sure that I'm about to take a breath out and take an out breath right as I putt. And so that has really, 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 really helped my putting in my golf game. And the great thing about that is I trained myself to do this while I was inside. In fact, I came up with this last year, and I started training myself doing this. And I was just doing it on my practice swings. And hold on one second. And so I just had done my practice swings, but I was working on when I was breathing. And I started doing this last year over the winter. And it has really made a huge difference in my putting. It has made a huge difference in my putting when I'm under pressure. And I've just become so much better putter. And in fact, I was testing this out on an indoor practice screen the other day where I wasn't focused on my putting. And I was just like putting and putting and putting, just try to. And then I went through my full routine and worked on made sure my breath was in the right place. And the difference is enormous. Like you wouldn't even believe the difference, how much better I putted. Like just my results. I was making so many putts. I made like 12 putts in a row from multiple places. And it all had to do with me focusing through my pre-shot routine and being aware of when I'm breathing and how I'm breathing. And so this is something that I really suggest you guys work on, is when you're breathing in your putting. And also I've been working on that in my pre-shot routine with my full swing as well. Like if you talk to Bryson, he'll tell you that he does, like when does he breathe during his swing? He knows exactly what he does breathe. He's got like some complicated way because he's Bryson. But I just want to make sure that I'm breathing in such a way that I have the least amount of tension in my swing and in my stroke. And putting, it's so important. In full swing, it's the same thing. So just something to think about to help work on your mental game by also working on your breathing, your physical game. So another thing that I like to do, and I talked about this a little bit in the live training a couple weeks ago, was visualizing each shot. And this is something you can do at home, and you don't even need to, take a full swing. Like I will practice my visualizing. I will just take a club. I've got a 7-iron here. I'm looking at the target, so I'm visualizing an actual shot. And what I'll do is I will visualize an actual hole. So I see that I've got a par 4, I've got a green. A par 3, I've got a green. I know exactly where I'm hitting it to. I'm visualizing a par 3 that I play at my home course. So I visualize the shot. I come up, I would stand next to it and take a practice swing, and I would kind of just do a little bit of this to pretend to visualize like I took a practice swing. I'll look at the target, at the flag. I'll step up, and then I will visualize taking a full swing and watching the ball go to the target. And the more I do this, whether I do it actually when I'm hitting a golf ball on the golf course, or the more I do it just in my own living room or in my own office, the better I get at it. And the easier it is, for my mind to do the exact same thing when I'm actually playing golf. And the more I do that, the easier it is on my body and the less stress I have when I'm actually hitting a shot under pressure. And so visualization is a great, great thing to work on. And it really helps. You can do that with your pre-shot routine. But I just think it's just so helpful. And then a couple other things that are mental training tools that you can do indoors is I'm a big proponent of meditation. And so we can do some meditation. That's something you can easily do in 5 or 10 minutes. I actually have a meditation album. I've got a couple of free meditations on my YouTube channel. And I also have a meditation album with 13 meditations on it that you can see at johnlemmon.com. So check that out. But meditation is a very important part. I mean, you can find multiple ways to meditate, whether it's a guided meditation, a breath meditation, transcendental meditation. There's all kinds of different ways to meditate. Prayer meditation that can go together if that's a religious thing for you as well. Multiple ways to do that, but the more you meditate, the better golf you're going to play, the more calm you're going to be, and also you're going to be a better human being as well. But I'm a big fan of meditation. I think that's extremely important. And again, it's something that you can work on your mental game and your golf game. Easily do it indoors, 5, 10, 15 minutes, a couple times a week, 4 times a week, however you can do it. It's just something that you can do to work on your game. So that way next year when you come out, you just have the best 2026 season ever. Another thing you can do is journal. And I kind of have a routine where I'll do some meditation and then I'll journal about what my feelings are or what I think about my golf game. It's usually not a positive thing, possibly good or bad. Journaling is very, very powerful. It just seems like the more you're able to get the words and the things that are in your mind out on paper, the easier it is for you to deal with it. And it kind of takes the power away. Like if there's something that you're really, really, really worried about and you're stressing about and you just can't stop thinking about it, just write it down. Just write it down. Write down everything about it. Write it down completely. Write down all of it. Just write down anything you think about it. It doesn't matter if it's negative or terrible or whatever. Write it all down. And then the more you write it down, the easier it is. I feel like it just kind of dissolves. It takes kind of the punch out of the thing that's bothering you. But I've done that a lot in my life, and it's really, really helpful. So meditation is great. Journaling is great. And another thing that I like to do to make sure that I'm always working on my golf game is reading good books. And these happen to be just a couple of the golf books I've got laying around. There's a dog hair on this, of course. But this is a great book by Dr. Bob Rotella, Make Your Next Shot Your Best Shot. It's a super good book, one of my favorite books. I've read this multiple times. This is one of his latest books, and this is really good. He also has Golf is Not the Game of Perfect, which I got a couple copies over there, which has been great. And then this book has been fun too. And so my buddy Adam Young, got to check him out. He's on all the socials. He's a great coach. And this is the practice manual. This is the ultimate guide for golfers. And this is it's a pretty dense book. And I mean dense in and not necessarily in a negative way. Like it's a dense book, as in it's kind of like, it is called the practice manual. So it does feel like a manual the way it is. It's not something that you can sit down and read. I mean, it's a really huge book anyways, but I don't feel like it's something that you can sit down and read very quickly. It's something that you're going to take your time with and go through section by section. Also, it's a good reference manual too, to be like, you know what, I'm working on something in my game. Let's check on that. And Adam goes into tons and tons and tons of information and detail about each section of the golf swing, and it's just good stuff. And it's a great book. So reading is something that I suggest as well. And so as far as the mental training tools that I suggest you should use to help you have the best 2026, we talked about breath work, breathing, training yourself, training your pre-shot routine, training when you breathe in your swing, visualization, visualizing each shot, see it, feel it, and swing it. And you can visualize just by sitting down. You can stand there with a club. You can stand there without a golf club. You can just sit there and actually visualize your shots. And it's extremely powerful. Olympic athletes use that all the time. And it's just a really good way to help train your mind when you're not actually able to be out on the course in actually training. But yeah, training your pre-shot routine. And then a couple other things I like to do, like I just talked about, was meditating, journaling, and then reading to get better. And these are all great things that I want you guys to do and to be able to work on inside when you can't get outside, whether it's too hot, too cold, rainy, whatever it is. There's a foot of snow outside today, so that's why I'm not able to train outside. And these are some of the things that I'm working on. And I want you guys to just have the best 2026 golf season that you possibly can. And that golf season, your great golf season in 2026 starts today, and it starts with the routines and the things that you start today and how this translates and how you can just build on your momentum from all the things that you're doing starting today. And you can just start 10 minutes at a time, build some routines, and go from there. The last part I wanted to talk about was I wanted to give just a quick structure for a 1 hour simulator session. I feel like people struggle with simulator sessions because you've paid for an hour, and so you want to very quick, not quickly, you want to get, you want to maximize your whole hour. And so I feel like what happens is people get caught up by hitting as many shots that they possibly can in a simulator because you've paid for the hour. Or if you get a giant bucket of balls, you're like, all right, I've got to hit as many golf balls as I can because I've paid for them. And what I'd love to start getting trending, and I'll probably do some shorts about it this week, is using. So if you're going to an actual range, hitting the small bucket of balls, get the small bucket of balls and do very intentional, complete full pre-shot routine, and do very extremely slow, intentional shots. I mean, I would rather you in an hour session hit 10 intentional shots where you know exactly what you're doing, you know what you're working on, the drills you're working on, than to hit 100 golf balls in an hour. And I feel like the same thing goes with a simulator. You've paid for the hour, you feel like you've got to get your money's worth. So you get as many shots as you can to get your practice in for the week. But a lot of time you're just compounding your old bad habits and you're not actually improving and working on the drills that your coach or that you know that you should be working on. And so I wanted to give kind of a quick one. In fact, so the two things I want to trend getting the small bucket, using only a small bucket, but intentionally, meticulously using that bucket one golf ball at a time. And this is what the pros do. You see them hit shots. They're there for hours hitting a very small amount of shots. So let's get this trending using the small bucket and seeing how few balls you can hit in a 1 hour session at a simulator. And if you're able to do that, I feel like that's really, really, really going to help your game to really be just more intentional as opposed to just swinging and hitting shot after shot after shot. And that's just something that I've been working on with my students and myself, and I think it's great. So I'm going to do a quick structure here for a 1 hour simulator session. We want this to be simple but repeatable but powerful because you've rented, you're at a simulator, you've paid your money, you've got an hour. Well, what do we do? Well, I feel like one of the most important things you do, and this is the same importance when you are playing golf on the course as well, is to do a warm-up. And let's start with a 10-minute warm-up. And I know 10 minutes sounds like a long time. If you've got only an hour, you're like, oh my gosh, then I'm only have 50 minutes left. But if you don't warm up, it's really not going to help you as much. So the more you warm up, the better your actual play is going to be, the better your swing is going to be. And if you're working on some drills and things, it's going to be helpful too. So I think for the first 10 minutes, do a warm-up. Do a little bit of breath work, make sure you focus, make you clear your mind, and have your goals for your session. You can even do that ahead of time if you want to use the whole hour for practicing and working, then do a 10-minute warm-up before. I've got like a routine that I teach my students, that I do myself, that I got from a friend of mine that's a TPI certified instructor. And then I just know, I just need to get my body loosened up. And sometimes I'll do yoga before I go out or whatever it is, but do a 10-minute warm-up. Do some weighted swings, whatever it is, but intentionally do a 10-minute warm-up. Also, if you guys have any questions, put those in the comments. I see a couple of questions. I'm going to get to those here in just a few minutes as soon as I wrap this up. But anyway, so this is a structure for a 1 hour simulator session. The first 10 minutes is warm-up. Warm up. Do some breathing, get your body warmed up, get your nervous system warmed up, get your mind warmed up. For the next 20 minutes, I want this to be like a skill block or a training drill block. And we want to have one swing thought, we want to have one pattern, and we want to have deliberate reps. And the key for this 20 minutes is we want to be going slow. If we're working on kind of a big swing change, we want to be going even slower. We want to be swinging at maybe a 10% power swing. We want to work on maybe getting the movement down. If you watched Justin Rose this past week, he has a very, very deliberate pre-shot routine where he goes through and he's got a swing move that he's working on. He's working on that, and he does that before every single swing. But the amount of time it takes him from the beginning to actually hitting a shot is longer than you would think. And that's exactly what I want you guys to do when you're using this next 20 minutes. to work on the actual drill that your coach gave you to work on. And I just want you to be like one swing thought, one pattern, very deliberate reps, very slow, very intentional, and you do that for 20 minutes. So first 10 minutes we warm up, 20 minutes we are doing our skill where we're actually doing our training. And then for the next 30 minutes, it could be like a challenge block, or even honestly just play 9 holes. Just play some holes, put the putting on automatic. Don't worry about putting, because I feel like in a simulator, the putting, unless they've got an actual putting green, is not super helpful. But yeah, just put the putting on automatic and just try to play 9 holes. But we want to play one ball. We want to have this to be under pressure. So we're trying to get the best score we possibly can. We're going to use one ball. We're going to turn off the mulligans. No mulligans. Yes, you heard it. Don't do mulligans. If you're doing this for the next 30 minutes, we want to be playing, and we want to be visualizing this like we're actually playing on the course and mimicking what we would actually do on the course as best we possibly can inside in a simulator. And yeah, I would play 9 holes. That's if you're going to have fun. You could also do one of those challenges. TrackMan's got a bunch of different challenges where it's like, oh, you got to hit this target. You got to hit this. Maybe you're doing wedge work. And you're like, okay, I'm going to hit this wedge this many yards and then this many yards. They've got a bunch of different games to play, but be very intentional. Do one shot at a time. Hit the shot. See what you do. Do your full pre-shot routine like you normally would when you're playing. But yeah, just anything we can do. Again, no mulligans. Anything we do to keep this real and as real life as possible when the practice. And then, so that will wrap you up basically if you started with 10-minute warm-up, 20 minutes of the skill block of practice, and 30 minutes of either fun playing or focusing on a game or a skill type game that they have. And then afterwards, and you can do this, after you leave the session, for the next 10 minutes afterwards, I think you should reflect and kind of lock in and see what you did. If you hit some good shots, I talk about this a lot to my students, take a picture of the shots, take a picture of the number, the stats, the numbers on the simulator, and kind of lock in that good shot. Like, oh man, I really hit that shot perfect. I was trying to hit, a couple more degrees down on the ball, and I did it on that shot. Look, I did that. And just kind of reflect back on what your practice session was, reflect back on all the good you did, all the good shots you did. Did you birdie a hole? Did you hit some good shots? Did you hit a great drive? Whatever that is, really lock that in and reflect on what worked, reflect on maybe what didn't work, and then you'll know exactly what to work on and to repeat when you go into your next training session. So, all right, so that was a quick 1-hour structure for a simulator. If you're going to be getting a simulator, I'd say 10 minutes warm up, 20 minutes skill block, 30 minutes of playing or for skills drills. And then afterwards, you can reflect on what you did for 10 minutes. So I'm going to do a quick Q&A. And it looks like, let's see. Oh, hey, Dave. How are you? So it looks like Dave asked about a wedge session. He needs to dial this in. And I 100% agree. They have some great wedge sessions with TrackMan. They have some great games, depending on what simulator you're using. And I think that is an absolute great thing to do. And Dave, you're a decent golfer for sure. But I think everybody, no matter who you are, we need to dial in our wedge yardages. From 100 yards and in is super important, and really dialing in from even 50 yards and in, because we have those 50 yards and in shots on almost every hole. Where you at least have those 100 yards and in shots. And I think we could really, really dial that in. So yeah, Dave, totally. A wedge simulator session is absolutely perfect. But I would go through the same thing that I talked about. I'd use 10 minutes of warm up. I do 20 minutes where you're working on an actual skill, whether it's a drill, a skill, or a drill, same kind of thing. And then I would do the actual challenge. And some of those games that they have where they just pick a number, like you can put the numbers in, like, okay, it's going to be 120 yards and in, and then they'll randomly pick, and then you have a target and you got to hit that shot. And then like, okay, I've got to hit 67 yards. How close was I to that? And then just that. And I think doing that for the next 30 minutes in a session is really, really fun. And then also make sure that you use 5 or 10 minutes after your session, after you're done, to really dial in and realize and reflect on what you did, and go from there. So do you guys have any more questions? I'm going to wrap this up here in just a minute. Please reach out. We've got, you can find me at johnlemmon.com. You can also, I've got my results training course that is up on my website at johnlemmon.com. I'll have that down in the description and in the notes, and also in my, if you click on my description, you can find that as well. I'm planning to do these lives most Mondays. I wasn't able to do it last Monday because I actually was a little sick. So, and there was also a foot of snow on the ground, and I had to shovel myself out. So, but I really appreciate everybody joining me this today. And any more questions, please chat, comment, reach out. You can email me on my site and check out the results training course. That is live. It's only $49. It's going to help you figure out what your goals are for this year and help you really get a training, or really get some tools and actually have a plan. The plan is the word I was trying to say, and really get a plan together for having your best and playing your best golf in 2026. So check out my results training course, again, johnlemmon.com. That's 2 M's. And also, if you're looking for in-person lessons, I do in-person lessons in the Dayton, Cincinnati area. And then one of my favorite things to do is I do Zoom lessons, and I do that with students all across the country. And all of that stuff is at johnlemmon.com. But if you really want to level up your game and really get a plan and really have some accountability and have your best golf and play your best golf in 2026, that's the best way to do that, with some in-person lessons or some virtual lessons. So, all right, cheers, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me, and we will catch you on the flip side.